Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdog's Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini episode, today we're going to be looking at a story involving a Kentucky Mantis man and another story involving a Yowie, an Australian Bigfoot, which vanished in front of the witness's eyes. Let's get into the first article, Kentucky Mantis Entity Encounter on a Rural Government Property, and read exactly what was witnessed, out in Kentucky, folks. In the late 1980s, a woman living in an isolated rural area of Kentucky experienced an encounter that challenged conventional explanations of reality. What began as a moment of quiet observation quickly escalated into a profound and confrontational interaction with a non-human intelligence. Reports involving mantis-like entities are rare, but consistent enough to demand serious attention. I wanted to share something I experienced related to the description of a being that looked like a large praying mantis about 35 years ago. My husband worked for the government in a very rural area of Kentucky. When I moved there with our 3 children, I spent a lot of time alone because he traveled frequently. One night, I woke up and saw something that looked like a bell, but it was very dark, sitting on the front porch of our house. I thought to myself, this just can't be real. Where did it come from? I felt an odd sensation for a moment, and then it was as if someone had torn a hole in the very fabric of my surroundings. Suddenly, this enormous being that resembled a praying mantis, sitting in the lotus position with its legs crossed and its hands raised, appeared. It hissed at me, and I couldn't believe what was happening. At the same time, I felt connected to it. It could read my mind, and I could read its thoughts. This entity threatened me, and I challenged it, saying, "What gives you the right to judge mankind and threaten us? You're nothing like me. You're nothing like people." The creature hissed again. I started praying immediately, and as I did, the being began to back away. It hissed loudly one last time and then moved away. I even heard the porch swing, which was quite large. It banged against the pole next to the porch as it left. The thing moved on out. So, was this creature being truthful? Why would this entity, unless it was some sort of demonic being, be affected by this woman praying? There could be one reason. Maybe the thoughts of this woman frightened this alien being, or maybe generally it was affected by prayer, folks, and was something more spiritual rather than a physical alien being. I don't know, but certainly very strange. Here's some commentary and notes linked to this incident. Several vital patterns emerge from this report. The encounter occurred in a rural environment tied to government employment. A recurring detail in mantis-type entity cases, the witness describes a perceptual rapture, often reported as a tearing or folding of space preceding the appearance of the being. The emotional tone shifts rapidly from disbelief to confrontation, followed by fear, managed through prayer. The reported telepathic connection aligns closely with other mantis encounters documented in experiencer literature, in which these beings are often described as mentally dominant or judgmental. Notably, the entity retreats when confronted with prayer, a detail that mirrors numerous high strangeness cases involving both shadow entities and other non-human intelligences. This reaction suggests a possible vulnerability to human intentionality, belief systems, or consciousness-focused resistance. From an investigative standpoint, the characteristics point towards an interdimensional or ultra-terrestrial origin rather than a biological cryptid. Mantis beings are frequently reported in conjunction with altered states, missing time, and reality distortion effects, suggesting these entities may operate outside standard physical constraints. Associated and similar activity. Comparable mantis entity encounters have been reported globally, particularly within abductee and contactee narratives. Common elements include telepathic communication, perceived authority over humanity, and observer positioning as evaluators or overseers. In several cases, witnesses report the beings appearing in meditative or ritualized postures, reinforcing the possibility of a symbolic or consciousness-based manifestation rather than a purely physical one. Maybe there is such a thing here, folks, that these beings have basically a consciousness-based manifestation that you can basically associate with basically them often being depicted in, this meditative state, folks. At least when the witnesses see them. I kind of agree with that fact, because it does seem to be something I've seen before, folks. Either way, very interesting story, but let's move on to the next article. Yowie vanishes during daylight near Gold Coast Freeway in Queensland, Australia, and read exactly what this witness saw and then basically watched disappear in front of his eyes, folks, as it probably basically ran off into the woods. Let's get into the story now and hear exactly what the witness experienced. In late morning daylight on a hot summer day, a traveler driving toward the Gold Coast in Queensland witnessed an upright, non-human figure moving calmly along a freeway construction zone. What happened afterwards challenges conventional explanations and echoes a rare pattern reported by a small number of Australian witnesses. I received the following account from a, Phantoms and Monsters radio viewer. A few years ago, while traveling through Queensland, Australia, I had a clear and unexpected daytime sighting of what is commonly referred to as a Yowie, also known as a Bigfoot or Sasquatch. It occurred late in the morning, around 10:30 to 11 o'clock a.m. on a hot, bright summer day. As I was driving towards the Gold Coast, we were entering a section of freeway that was still under construction. As you can see, folks, this is yet another article I got from phantomsandmonsters.com. But this time, apparently, the people got it from a radio viewer. Very interesting. But let's continue with this sighting of this Yowie, or is it really a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch, folks? Let's continue with it now and hear the whole account. On the left-hand side, there was a wide area of flat, level ground with no workers present. A few construction vehicles were scattered far apart in the distance, but there was no activity beyond that. Was a dense line of gum trees because it was summer. The trees were mostly bare with little or no foliage, allowing clear visibility through the trunks and branches. As I was driving, I noticed a tall figure moving upright within the tree line, walking parallel to the road. At first, I thought it might be a person, but I quickly dismissed that idea. There were no workers anywhere in the area, and given the environment and heat, it seemed unlikely. More importantly, the figure was far too tall to be a human. Its height stood out immediately. The gum trees weren't massive old-growth trees, but they were still several meters tall, and this figure reached at least 2/3 of their height. So this entity was considerably big, folks. Far bigger than a regular human, at least, and probably terrifying to see. Now, let's hear more. Its arms were unusually long, swinging naturally and hanging well past the knees. The body proportions were clearly non-human, with a lean but powerful build. I was driving at freeway speed, and my phone was inside the center console, plugged in and charging. I only had seconds to observe what I was seeing. Reaching for my phone would have meant taking my eyes off the figure while driving, which would have been dangerous and likely caused me to miss the sighting altogether. I consciously decided to keep my eyes on it, knowing that a precise visual observation was more critical than attempting to record something I might lose sight of in an instant. I slowed down as much as I safely could by moving into the emergency lane, dropping my speed to around 40 kilometers an hour. I couldn't stop completely for both safety reasons and because it's illegal on a freeway. I maintained constant visual contact. Good. At least we have that here, folks. This guy tried to basically take in as much information as possible by watching this creature as closely as he could. Let's continue. The figure continued walking calmly without hesitation and showed no awareness or concern about the nearby road or passing vehicles. It then stepped out of the tree line and into the open clearing, fully exposed in broad daylight. At that moment, it faded out of existence. It did not run, hide, crouch, or move behind anything. It simply became transparent and vanished smoothly within about 1 second, similar to a visual dissolve. So it didn't run off into the woods, which is surprising, folks. It literally just faded away. But let's finish off this article before we discuss anything more about it. I want to be clear that I do not drink alcohol, smoke, or use drugs. I never have. I was vigilant, healthy, and clear-minded at the time. I know what I saw. I'm sharing this experience so it can be added to the broader discussion and to let others who have had similar sightings see that they are not imagining things. TT. Good for the TT here, folks. That he was able to keep sight of this creature till literally vanished in front of him, folks. Do you suppose if he did take his eyes off this entity, if he looked back, it would have been gone? Do you suppose that this entity was waiting for him to look away so it could vanish? The fact that he didn't and just kept watching it meant that this entity maybe decided just to vanish right before his eyes. And how did it do so, folks? Very strange. But now we're at the end, so please go subscribe to my YouTube channel. Read comics, they're bad for you. You can use the YouTube link down below in the descriptions or the chat to do so. Hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications. Make sure you hit the part of the bell to give you all future notifications. And please share this video out. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video, so be sure to come back again then. Till next time, folks, I'll see you all again soon.